Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Combat Sports UK YouTube channel. Taylor Collard here, and I'm delighted to be joined by Octagon's newest and one of his most outspoken athletes, Will Fleury. It's the Fleury era. How are you, mate?
Boom. Good, man. How's things?
Yeah, all good, all good. I have to say, like I said off camera, just seeing you on with Brian Lacey, and he mentioned your little throne room you've got there, and I think we'd love to have another look at the throne and the throne
Hold on now. All right, go on.
Because it's pretty epic. It's pretty epic. I mean, look at that. Look at that.
You can't even see the town outside now, but we're in the square in the center of the town. There's a castle down the road there, so I haven't quite explored the castle yet.
Looking over your new kingdom, just imagine the Octagon light heavyweight division. So, first of all, I just want to start actually on your congratulate on you and your win, the 100 kilo plus category at ADCC Ireland. How was that experience, man?
It was cool. It was good. That's my second time doing it in about 6 months. For some reason, they had like the 2023 one in September, and then the 2024 one was in February. So there's only about 5 months between them. So I did it like I won 23 and 24 in 5 months. So I'm like champ of both years now. So that was cool. But I lost in the absolutes. I was gutted with that. I got knee barred in the absolutes. So even though everyone's like, oh yeah, well, really well done, amazing, whatever. And I'm not a grappler, like it's not my main thing, but I would fucking put myself, like I medaled at ADCC there last September as well. So I was like very kind of happy, like I was pleased with that. But I've kind of gone from the point of like, Ash, you're just an absolute chance we're involved in grappling to like, I really expected to go down there and win the absolute at the weekend. And when I didn't, I was gutted. And look, some of the best grapplers around would be there. I would rate myself and say like, fuck it, I should be beating these boys, you know? And look, I won my division, so I was happy with that. And I won the heaviest weight division. So I should be happy, but honestly, I'm kind of not, you know?
And is it just that thrill of competing that kind of got you involved in that? Or were you just kind of, I'll go give it a try.
Yeah, so like it's Kieran Davern was running that tournament. He's in charge of ADCC Ireland. And he was just pushing me to do it. He was like, because I did a few jiu-jitsu tournaments when I was coming up, and I found them a little bit boring. I just found like you pay a lot of money, you might get to compete once or twice in the day. You can get banned for reaping the knee. You could get banned for so many fucking things. And then the last match I did was the 0-0 draw, where I lost on a negative advantage, and the guy just held me in close guard. Now, in MMA in close guard, I'll just posture and punch you. In jiu-jitsu, when it's gi close guard, you're like, you know, I didn't have the technique to break a close guard at that point in time. That was 5 years ago, or it was 2018, so nearly 6 years ago. And I got frustrated. But then Kieran was like, look, ADCC isn't like that. Go out and watch some ADCC. And I did. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. This looks class. I'm going to go and compete in this. And then when I did, I was like, okay, that's fucking totally different buzz. I really, really like the ADCC rule set. Like, and it rewards having a bit of a fucking scrap a lot more. And like, doesn't mean it's not technical. Of course, it's incredibly technical. But like MMA is incredibly technical, but it's just more of a fight. So you can use your athleticism, you can use your, you know, speed of movement, and like the continuous kind of inside outside game. You know, there's a little bit more wrestling, so you can kind of play a little bit more on the feet. And like eventually guys get penalized for pulling guard as well. So if you can outlast the guy on the feet, you know, you'll get rewarded for that. And I think it is a little bit fake to just be like, oh, well, I'll just sit my ass, you have to engage with me. You know, I don't like that as a part of a rule set in jiu-jitsu. It is a bit like, and look, I'm not like, I'm a guy who pulls guard sometimes, you know, in jiu-jitsu tournaments. I've done that, like, but I think ultimately you should be able to do both if you're going to consider yourself a proper martial artist. So I really, really like ADCC, and I loved competing in it. And look, depending on like how busy Octagon keep me, I'd like to consider, like, there's a chance that I might go to Croatia and do the trials in 2 weeks' time. But I'm hoping I have a fight. Yeah. And look, I came third in the last one. So technically, I'd be the other two guys have qualified since. So I have a good chance of qualifying. And if I qualify, I'd face Gordon Ryan because I'd be the bottom seed. I'd be the number 16 seed. Yeah, so that'll be saucy. So like that really excites me. Yeah. So the possibility of that's fucking incredible, and like that really will give me a massive buzz. But look, jiu-jitsu isn't going to be what pays my bills, and the jiu-jitsu isn't going to be my legacy. So if I get MMA before that, I'll obviously take it.
Yeah, too right. That takes us quite nicely into the MMA. Obviously, you've just signed with Octagon. How did that come about? Like, were they on your radar? Talk us through the process of you getting that signature pen to paper.
Yeah, so I just mentioned with Brian there, like my first experience with Octagon was cornering Paul Byrne back in 2017. He fought at Tillavay, and I was genuinely blown away by just how professional the whole backroom setup was. The stadium, they'd filled this tennis stadium. I think it was only about 8,000 there at that stage, but it was an incredible atmosphere. The fans were really passionate as well. Like Paul was the away fighter, so he was fighting a Slovakian guy in Prague, and Tillavay was like huge fan favorite down there. I think he's fighting in that June card, isn't he? But yeah, basically, they gave him massive respect because he gave him a good fight. Like he nearly finished Attila in the second round. And I was amazed, just, you know, fans were jumping over to get at Paul afterwards to congratulate him. And I was like, well, in Ireland, you'd be considered a fucking loser at this point. You know, you'd be like, oh, you're shit, you lost. So I like the buzz, but I like the culture of that too. So I kept an eye on it afterwards. And then my biggest thing was like, geez, these guys do a really good job promoting the events. Yeah. But the guys that they have fighting for them are getting a nice free fucking ride a lot of the time. Like, you know, I was looking at some of these Czech fighters and I was kind of going, these guys aren't the quality of, you know, any of the kind of English Irish guys. And they're getting rewarded massively, you know, and they're getting like fairly favorable fights a lot of the time. And I was kind of thinking, well, fuck, I'd love the opportunity to come in and smash a few of them lads. So just the way it's worked out now, I've gotten that opportunity, and I'm absolutely relishing it. Like, so yeah, it's on me now to go in there.
Funny you say that about the Irish guys. I mean, we've just seen obviously Dennis Frimpong beat Jan Shiroki, so there's definitely some precedent in terms of to what you're saying. I mean, you just mentioned there that you kind of want to get a debut as quick as possible. I think they've got 4 or 3 cards officially announced as Oberhausen this weekend. That's probably not going to happen. But Stuttgart,
no,
Birmingham.
I don't think I'd make the weight at this stage.
Stuttgart, Birmingham, and then the big stadium show over in Prague, I believe. Which one of those kind of tickles your fancy the most? Just kind of the closest one, or is there a city in particular?
Okay, so there's Ostrava, then there's Stuttgart.
Ostrava, yeah.
Yeah, so I honestly think I could do Ostrava. Like, if they want me for March 2nd, I'm available. If they can, like, you know, obviously we'll need an opponent who's going to be well trained as well, or whatever the fuck. But like, I'm ready to go now. And if somebody falls out of that card, I'm more than happy to take a spot on it. So I could do that. Obviously, Stuttgart to be fine as well. Birmingham just excites me a little bit less, to be honest, because like going to Birmingham, I'm like, fucking, I've been to Birmingham once is enough. It's all good. I'm sure it's a lovely city, but my experience there was okay after one time. Like, so look, fucking, I don't mind. You give me a fight, I'm gonna go. But I would like to do it fairly soon, and I would like to do it over in the Czech Republic, and then eventually, like, the whole idea of that is to build a fan base to bring back to Ireland, obviously, and then to like get a good contender and myself fighting in Dublin. That'd be incredible. But we got to build that. Like, I understand that we're not at that point yet, so give me the opportunity to show you what I am, and I'd like to do that in front of as big a crowd as possible. And if you do that, and you see the way I behave, and you see the buzz that I'll generate, I think you'll realize, like, oh shit, we have something legit here, and we can really get invested in that.
Yeah, and Octagon tend to jump on those guys as well. You know, we mentioned him again. You look at Dennis Frimpong, right? He calls out every single person, and Octagon have jumped on him. That Ostrava card would be massive because that's one of the typical game changers on. There's also a title fight on there, so that would bring a lot of eyeballs. And I mean, that brings us nicely to your division. You've kind of ticked off a little hit list there. I mean, we'll go through individuals in a second, but just when you look at the division as a whole, how, I want to say quickly, but how do you see yourself fitting into that division and kind of working towards that title fight?
I understand that it might be a process, but there's nobody there I can't smash. As in, every one of those guys, I know for a fact I'm a better fighter than. So it's about going in and showing everybody else that. And it's not like, I don't think like these guys are shit martial artists or whatever. They're solid fighters. It's just, I'm at a level, man. You know, I'm sparring the number 5 ranked guy in the UFC on a daily basis, and like, I don't have any qualms about fucking, you know, going and fighting anybody if they're in the UFC, if what, like, I know where I'm at in terms of quality in this game, and I want to get out there and show everybody else that. And I hope to get the opportunity to do that as soon as possible. So whoever you give me on that rankings list, great. Just don't give me somebody who I can't build my name off of. Give me somebody that, like, when I beat it, it's like, oh yeah, well, he's good. So that's all I'm looking for, man. And I like, look, part of calling everybody out was just, yeah, you have to deal with me now. One of you, I've said all their names. If none of you take it, you're a bunch of fucking pussies. It looks like some guys are kind of tentatively dipping their toes in the water taking it, but like, you know, Skvor hasn't replied to me. I've said like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, I tagged him in a story on Instagram. He hasn't shared that story. He hasn't said anything else about it. So it's like, do you fucking want it or not? Like, don't just say you want it publicly. Okay? If you wanted this, Octagon would have been in touch and we'd have a bout agreement done. So like, I don't know, like, this shit frustrates me a little bit because like, just be fucking honest. You know what I mean? Say, oh, well, I'm fucking injured or blah, 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 or I have this going on or I have that going on, whatever the fuck. But don't pretend you want to fight and then don't, because you're wasting fucking everyone's time. So far, any of them boys that I've mentioned, nobody's taking the fight. I know it's only, what, 4 or 5 days later. But if you want to fucking fight, come on, we can do this. We can do this pretty soon.
Absolutely can. And I mean, a couple of the guys that caught my attention off that list for a couple of things was Rafael Xavier. He's saying he's refused to fight you. What's the story there? Is that fight been offered? Like, what's the crack with that?
Yeah. So it was about 2 years ago. I think it was before I fought in UAE Warriors. So what would that have been? Like early 2022. So yeah, 2 years ago. I started working with a guy, a manager, and he offered me the fight with Rafael, and I trained with Rafael once or twice at this stage. But I was like, yeah, no problem. I accepted it. And then Johnny got in touch with me and was like, oh, Rafael says you've accepted a fight with him. And I was like, yeah. And Johnny was like, yeah, look, that's cool with me. I don't have a problem with that because, you know, we know each other through Johnny, basically. And, you know, the promoter sent me back, or sorry, not the promoter, my manager sent me back a message basically saying, oh, he says you're best friends. And I was like, I've talked to the guy like maybe 3 times in my entire life. He barely fucking speaks English. How the fuck can we be best friends? And then he screenshotted some of the messages that he sent to the promoter, and it was like, oh no, we're very close, whatever. It's like, mate, fuck off. Like, you know, look, me and Norbert Naveni were genuinely like fairly close, and I fought him no problem. You know what I mean? So, like, I've shown I don't have an issue fighting somebody who I know quite well, and I barely fucking know this guy, so I clearly don't have an issue fighting him. And it's like, the only reason, mate, that you have an issue fighting me is because you know I kicked the shit out of you. So don't be a fucking bitch and say we're mates. That's some pussy shit, like, you know.
And he's right. Like, look, he's in it too.
I think the reason I'm exposing this is because now, okay, show me wrong, prove it, fucking fight me, do this thing, yeah. And you're ranked number 2. You know, you're the number 2 ranked guy in this fucking promotion, and you're a bitch. You won't fucking fight me. So shut the fuck up. We're not friends.
The next one was, and I mean, you're gonna have to do a little bit of translating here. I mean, he's at number 3, Pavel Langer. You said you're a Langer.
So would you not know what a Langer is? No,
I'm afraid not. No, I'm gonna have to show my my ignorance as an Englishman here. But yes, what is a Langer? Please indulge.
I thought just because the area, like, I live in South Dip, and like Cork is Langer country. Like, you know, everybody calls everybody a Langer. It basically, like, the literal translation is dick. So Langer is like cock, but it means like idiot, twat, like muppet. You're fucking toolbox basically. Like, so like it it's just like it's a slang insult down in Cork and Kerry and kind of Southwest Ireland, like, but most, like, I would have thought, you know, most English people might have heard that at some point, or, you know, that it's well known around Ireland anyway, but it's definitely stronger in Cork and Kerry and those kind of areas, like, because even here you wouldn't call somebody a Langer, but like, if you heard it, you'd know exactly what everybody's talking about, you know?
Yeah, so now every time anyone sees that name, they're gonna have a bit of a chuckle. Pavel Langer's fighter. They're all gonna
well, even like, I remember the golfer Bernard Langer, was it?
Yeah, yeah, actually.
And
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I was like, how is he allowed to have an insult as a name? Because I didn't realize the rest of the world didn't use this. Like, you know, I was like, it's like being called John Fucker or something, like, you know.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. But him as a fighter, he's obviously in at number 3. Must be another one on your hit list. You mentioned about
Yeah.
SPG with him. Like, is there background to that as well?
No, that was Popic. That was Popic.
Ah, that was Popic.
So,
okay, all right.
yeah. No, Langer, I don't really know as a person at all. Like, I've never had any experience with him. But fuck it, all the better. Like, one more reason to fight you, you know. So, look, I'd love that one. Like, any of them. And like, it seems like you're being greedy here when you keep just going, yeah, that guy or that guy or that guy. You're like a kid in a fucking sweet shop. But like, this is the thing. Just give me an opportunity. Just give me an opportunity to show what I am. You know, it doesn't matter too much. Like, obviously, different fight, like different guy, different fight, different approach, different, you know, technique going into the whole thing. But just give me the challenge and I'll rise to the challenge. That's what I am, and that's what I want to show you I am. So like, right, like, it's getting a bout signed. You know, it's been like April last year was the last time I fought. So like, it's been nearly a year. So give me a fucking fight, man. I'm desperate at this stage. Yeah.
Get the guy in there. And what do we think? Kind of looking at the top of that division, what do we think about Momola, the champ? Obviously, he beat Langer, and then he got KO'd off of Krzysztofic recently. He's got the fight booked in that stadium fight, which seems to look to maybe be his last hurrah. But how would you like to have a matchup against him? Like, have him stick around,
of course,
for yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, like, you watched the thing with Brian. I explained we have a little bit of history. We trained together 10 years ago. Cunt caught me with an overhand. I fucked up my ankle afterwards. I'd love to get that back, you know. And if I get the opportunity to, 100% I will. And it's like, that's why I'm very eager to get out there and show what I am. Because if it is a case of like, he's planning on retiring, if you can give me the opportunity to go in there, smash a guy, build that narrative, make it a thing, I can do that. And we can make something interesting here, and I can sell that fucking story. So I'm eager to get this going as soon as possible, because I really do want that. You know, I think if he retired and we just didn't get to do that at all, we're missing out a massive chance to do something huge. But there will be other chances. There will be, like, no matter what, man, I'm going to have my fun here. You know, I'm going to fucking come in here and just be what I am. And I think that's going to create controversy no matter what. Like,
yeah, it will be a lot of fun. I mean, the Fleury era is upon us, Mr. Man. I'll throw it over to you for the last word. Is there anything else you want to put out there? Anyone else you want to call out?
Literally, like what I said in that intro, like in that little clip of like, if you want my attention, just sign a fucking bout agreement. You know, it's easy. Like, if you're signing with Octagon, or even if you fucking think Octagon might sign you, call my name. Start talking about me. Tag me in a fucking story. Do something. We'll get a fight. I'm up for it. If any he fuckers are up for it, we can do this. You know? There we go.
And there we go. Will Fleury, get this man a fight. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. As soon as that fight gets announced, I'm sure I'll be speaking to you again. But in the meantime, let's get this guy a fight. Pavel, Andre, I hope you're listening. Let's get this guy a fight. I may bring it up in Oberhausen over the weekend and see what they've got to say. Good. Thank you so much for your time, mate. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Tanner. Appreciate it.